Welcome to Liberty Show, where we talk about American classical education and invite you to join us in our work of improving the moral and intellectual character of the next generation. My name is Matthew Kirby. I'm the CEO of Liberty Classical Schools, and I'm your host. At Liberty Classical Schools, we exist to launch and support a network of American classical schools that are organized and emphasize virtuous living, traditional learning, and civic responsibility. Would love for you to read more about us at libertyclassicalschools.org. Well, you know, everybody knows that's paying attention to schools that the heart of a school are the teachers and also the leaders. And today I have the opportunity to interview a person who has been one of the very best teachers in our flagship school, Atlanta Classical Academy. And that person is Mr. Bryan Franklin. Mr. Franklin has served as our fine arts director and also our head basketball coach, and has taught music since our founding back in 2014. I want to tell you a little bit about Mr. Franklin. I'm going to spend a little extra time on this introduction today because I just think he is worthy of the praise and inspiring to learn about, and because I hope it sort of sets in the minds of our listeners, our viewers here, of the kind of teachers that we're trying to attract to Liberty Classical Schools, because I think Bryan very much exemplifies the kind of leadership that we're looking for in so many ways. But Mr. Franklin is a native of Swannanoa, North Carolina, and he holds a Bachelor of Music in Music Performance from Appalachian State University. He also has a Master's of Divinity from Mercer McAfee School of Theology. In the decade after college, Mr. Franklin went on to perform as a professional opera singer across the United States, worked in opera, and also did some large concert works. Mr. Franklin has an absolutely booming voice, which is much to be admired. He left his singing career for business for a few years so that he could be closer to his wife and his growing family. He later returned to be the interim worship leader at Wyuka Baptist Church, and there he realized of his passion for teaching and for music and for inspiring young people, which is exactly what he's done now for over 12 years at Atlanta Classical Academy. I want to share a couple of quotes about him that sort of paint the picture of the kind of human being that he is. The first one says that meeting Mr. Franklin is enough to know that he cares deeply about the students he teaches and the things that he teaches them. Mr. Franklin had a profound impact on me, this student says, during my time at ACA. He not only inspired in me a deep love of music, but also constantly encouraged me as a soccer player, teaching me to train my voice in the same way that one trains for a sport. That's great. Another person says, Mr. Franklin has a go-forthness about him. He is someone who leans forward in his ideas and hopes, and he wants to take everyone with him. He is equally a dreamer and a doer. He is long-suffering in his vision for this school, and he is patient to see programs come to fruition. He is well familiar with the arc of a student's development, and he patiently holds out a vision for them. He sincerely hopes that each of his students will build a happy life. Well, that indeed is the aim of American classical education, and there's no one better to learn about that from than my guest today, who is Mr. Bryan Franklin. Hope you enjoy our conversation. Well, Mr. Franklin, let's just jump right in. It's awesome to see you. Thank you for coming over here. It's a beautiful Friday in the spring of 2026. And I can't think of anything I'd rather do for the next hour or so than just talk to you about classical education and your experience.
Great.
So,
thank you for having me. Yeah. It is a beautiful day outside. At the school, we're in April, coming into May, which is the crunch time. Exciting things are happening, but also the year is sitting on us. So I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Me too. We have some fun around school. You know, I understand my son, who's a senior, spent the night on campus last night.
Yeah.
And I think they've got some shenanigans going on as part of their senior festivities. But it's all the culmination of a lot of years of hard work.
Yeah.
And excited for them.
Yeah, as an experienced teacher, I know not to venture to the high school, especially when I knew I was coming here. Otherwise, I would have gotten wet and who knows what else.
Right.
You know, they have a giant slip and slide out there. Yes, they take over the whole quad there at the high school with a lot of different little pranks, and it's a lot of fun. It's great to see them just having fun together and just and how they want so desperately for the teachers to get involved and So I stayed away today. I could see it from afar, but it looked like a balloon arch, looked like Mr. Shep's car got booted.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So a lot of different things were happening down there last night. It was great. Yeah.
Well, not what I expected to start with, but I think it's kind of fun. It's fun that, to remember we talk about important, weighty, lofty ideas. We take all this stuff quite seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously, and we have fun. Yeah. And there's a lot of laughter and joy in what we're doing. And, as a parent who's now been through this a couple of times, you got a senior who's finishing the program, and you just come to see the beauty of the entire sequence and of the friendships and of the relationships that develop and how they even change here at the very end when these seniors walk across the stage and they're sort of accepted by the faculty as friends. It's a beautiful thing, and it's enduring, and these memories will carry them into the future. They'll never forget them. It's kind of great.
It is. It's you begin to see that change, especially with the senior thesis project wrapping up a little earlier. It actually gives them longer, I think, to feel a little bit relaxed, to really live in these last few moments, last few months together. It really is a beautiful thing to see even their bonds grow closer as they're realizing the end is coming. And so it, I don't want to say forces, but that you do see they're growing deeper in their friendships and acknowledgement that their time's about to end. But like, as you said, all that's been built over years of being in class together, wrestling with really challenging conversations about what it means to be human. Yeah. And I think that opens the door for them to really grow in that way. And it is beautiful, and it will go all the way up until graduation with, their trip to Chattanooga is a beautiful trip. The last lecture, which I think is a beautiful evening, and their last reading of Brothers Karamazov, all those things just lead up to this really beautiful ending of their time with us. Yeah. That's special. Well, let's back up a little bit. Let's talk about you. Maybe say a little bit about your history at Atlanta Classical and what are your current responsibilities these days? Yeah. I was thinking about this driving over here today. I joined Atlanta Classical. I believe I was hired in May before the school opened in 2014. And at that time, I was hired to teach kindergarten and first grade music and 7th and 8th grade music, as well as lead our first choir, I think, of 4 young ladies is where we began in 2014. And a few years after that, we created a role of Director of Fine Arts, which I was blessed to be able to step into, and our Fine Arts department has flourished tremendously over these last 12 years. It's a beautiful thing for me to look back and just see how personally I've grown. And I think that's one of the things, and not to jump ahead, that I love about ACA is it challenges me as a person, the kind of person I want to be, not just teacher I want to be or professional I want to be, but just even at the heart of who I am. Yeah. It's challenged a lot of things I used to believe, to rethink those things. And I remember coming from a small town in North Carolina with a father who was a factory worker and my mom an assistant school teacher, and growing up in an area that was economically challenged, having pretty fierce debates about music with my mother, who really pushed that with me. And I was like, I don't know if music education is what we should be doing in schools. We've got these students, especially in our area, that just struggle to meet basic reading and math. And like, can we really be dedicating time to music and art when these things are lacking so much? Yeah. And that was a really thing that I felt pretty strongly about, and had said if, whenever my singing career stopped, did not want to teach. And actually I went away from music. I went into banking for a little bit. But at the encouragement of my wife, which I'm so grateful for, applied for this position, thinking it would just be a temporary as I was transitioning in some other areas of my life, and just fell in love with it. Yeah. And the school has just opened my eyes and my heart to understanding that music and art are essential to a child's development and essential to a child's growth in becoming the fullness of who they can become. it really sets the foundation for them. And I see that every single day with our students. And that's something I also kind of just wrestle with. It's just like this idea of a person's disposition. And I think art and music impact that. And I'm still wrestling with to what degree, but it definitely opens up the mind, the heart to receive the type of education that we are providing. So I've had a pretty 180 shift on going from music and art are nice to have to believing it's essential to the formation of our young people.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. Well, you've played a lot of roles. You've been a teacher. You've been fine arts director.
Mm-hmm.
You're also have been our head basketball coach.
Yes.
So there's you're sort of the quintessential classical man that does it all and contributes in so many ways there. And I think you're an excellent model for our kids to see that they can incorporate those things.
Thank you.
Into their lives. And I think you've been such an incredible role model and encouragement, I know, to my own children. And so I'm personally grateful to that, but just to so many at Atlanta Classical. All right, well, we've touched on this a little bit already, but I want you to, speak to our audience a little bit, may not be as familiar with our schools, may not be as familiar with classical education, but don't rush it here. But how would you describe our schools? What are our schools like?
Yeah, I find this to be an easy question and challenging question because I'm going to use a word again, this nuanced idea about how we view an education. And some people would say, well, that's how we view it as well, or that's how I see that they view it. But I think that what sets us apart is the end that we're aiming for. What is it that we are hoping our education will lead our students towards? And it's not the end of college acceptance, while that's a thing worth shooting for and needed. It's not a certain career path or success in financial terms, but I think it is truly living a life of meaning, being a contributor to our society, being a good citizen, is the aim of what our education is shooting for. And in that way, and this is where I kind of struggle, but I see it, and so I'm just speaking for what I have witnessed. Our teachers take very seriously this project, and they believe in our mission very seriously, and they believe that their subject helps fuel that mission. And so our teachers love their subjects, and also love the opportunity to share that with their students and try to maybe even infect or encourage them to have that same love, whether it be literature or history or science. So it's really quite a treat to watch our teachers talk about their subjects. And they're so knowledgeable. Like, our teachers are constantly learning and asking questions and doing, professional development sometimes for me seems like it's a box you check.
Right.
But when I watch our teachers do it, it's like they are doing it for growth.
Yeah.
Not just professionally, but personally, and because they love this thing.
Legitimate curiosity.
It is a legitimate curiosity. Yeah. That's right. And so I think that's maybe the number one thing. Thank you for saying that. I think our teachers across the board demonstrate curiosity, and are great question askers. And so I think that is something that really, for me, stands out about our school. I mentioned that I believe as a school, we're constantly asking the question, how does this serve the mission of our school? We keep the mission really at the forefront to develop knowledgeable and virtuous citizens. So we make decisions about things all through that lens. And I think that's important too, because as you know probably better than anyone, especially now a school at ACA that's been 12 years, it's easy to begin to lose that mission and keep clarity on that. And we have at times, but because we do have such a powerful mission, we're able to continue to go back to that and say, does this match what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
And so those are a couple of things, but I also think that the cross-curricular connections I think we're going to demonstrate that in a minute. Our teachers are always talking to each other across departments. How do we connect what you're learning and what you're teaching into my subject?
Mm-hmm.
And so a student could definitely walk into a history or literature class and get a math question or an art question. And I think that's unique.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I'm kind of jumping around here just as all these thoughts are kind of coming to us. But, I know that we've had a debate around this idea of rigor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a word that gets sometimes misconstrued a little bit. And I think our school, we wrestle with that appropriately, that we want our school, our academics to be rigorous. But I don't think that we see it in an oppressive way, that it's not, we don't want rigor just one for the sake of rigor, or that we're achieving rigor by assigning this much homework or achieving rigor by moving this quickly. But I think, to my earlier point, we want to achieve rigor by asking our students to think deeply about that subject, but also how can you pull the idea from this subject and help that inform.
Yeah.
That to me is rigorous learning, that we're not allowing you to compartmentalize that information, but we're really trying to get you to expand your imagination around these ideas, and like, how do you pull evidence here to help support your argument?
Yeah, it's like it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's valuable. It's cross-connected.
That's right.
It's kind of all those things. It's that's what we mean by content rich.
Yes.
And hopefully the best of a thing too. So the ideas, the people, the music, the events, the discoveries are, the most worthy of our attention and time.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's escaping me, and so you can probably help me, but the phrase that we hear a lot around is that we are reading or putting in front of our students the best that's been written or said in history.
For sure.
And in my subject, music, in a minute we're going to talk about it, but the 7th and 8th grade music curriculum is just dynamic.
Yeah.
It just leads us into so many deep and wonderful conversations, even at 7th and 8th grade. And if I went on the street and said, "Hey, I'm teaching a 7th grader the whole Symphony from the New World by Dvořák," they would look at me like I was crazy. Like, how do you get their attention? It's so easy, though, when you bring them into that conversation, when you spark their curiosity, their imagination. And that I think that was one of the things that just sold me on our school from the very beginning, is that we want to enliven, we want to grow a sense of wonder. And it's one of the things that I just am so grateful for, is just personally having a sense of wonder just about the world around us. And I hope that for our students is that when they're 60, they're still in awe of our country, our world, and just of literature, because I just think that just makes life so dynamic, this idea of wonder.
Yeah. Well, having visited your classroom many times, I know that, a couple of things jump out. It's hard for the visitor to know immediately if they're in a music class or a history class. I mean, eventually it kind of is clear that, okay, we're studying music here. But you do such a beautiful job of sort of, incorporating the story of the music, the meaning of the music, the context in which it was developed. It's fascinating. And the other thing, and I'm just sharing this as a model of what we hope all of our teachers will do, is you bring such an enthusiasm and such an energy about the thing that you're, by your tone and your body language even, you're telling these kids, pay attention. This is worthy of your attention. This is important. Hang with me here. Watch this. I mean, and I do think that it's sort of, it's your love and enthusiasm for the content, for how it shaped you, for the potential that it holds in the hearts and minds of the kids. Like it starts with the teacher. It starts with, it's the love of the content paired with that, that enthusiasm that I think, sparks and opens up the hearts of our kids. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe now is as good a time as any to do a little bit of that. I was kind of hoping we've in these interviews and we often talk about classical education, and it's we can put words to it, but I think even better would be to kind of do it and try to demonstrate it. So
Right.
I think we're going to try to do that, and I just to kind of, I'll let you set this up for us, but I think we've got the technology ready to share a little bit of music, and maybe how'd you tell us about this piece, and where do our kids engage with it, and then lead us through a little lesson here.
Yeah. So we're actually just taught this piece just a few minutes ago before I drove over here. We're studying this currently in our 7th grade. I usually save it toward the end of 7th grade as it leads us into a unit on American music. And that was the whole purpose of this piece, is to create a musical identity for America. So this is Dvořák's Symphony No. 9, Symphony from the New World. And so maybe I'll put you on the spot a little bit here. See,
all right.
But it's as you said, I think it is trying to. One of the things that I try to do with music is take it out of the abstract, which I think that's one of the challenges for young listeners and new listeners. Is it may even be beautiful sound, but it's just a lot and it's complex, especially classical music. So how do we get it to be tangible? How do we get there to be some imagination happening and something that's a little bit that we can hold on to? So I think that a lot of times comes out of the story from where the piece came. So this piece was premiered in 1893. In 1892, Dvořák, a Czech composer, was brought to America to be the director of our National Conservatory and to create this musical identity for America. And there's where we begin to talk about what led to this. So in 1892, where are we as a country?
Well, we're post-Civil War.
That's great. And out of Civil War, what is happening, especially in the North?
Well, there's a lot of integration. There's a lot of immigration. There's a lot of people coming to the country that are new, and we're sort of figuring out how to live with each other in a new season.
Yes. And especially, again, up north, and the reason why there was so much immigration happening is because there was what period
a lot
is
of industrialism.
Industrialization is seeing a huge boom here, especially in the north through Reconstruction. And this is a period of time in which some of the famous families that we hear about are earning their wealth, the Rockefellers, the Carnegies, the Vanderbilts. And so we kind of set the stage there, and we talk about in the 1880s, before our piece, some of the most iconic institutions in New York were being created. The Metropolitan Opera was created during this period of time, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the New York Public Library System, Carnegie Hall, Madison Square Gardens. I mean, all these iconic institutions were being created during this period of time, and most of them, I'll quiz you again. I'm putting you on the spot. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Metropolitan Opera, Metropolitan Museum of Art, New York Public Library, all fall into kind of what category of institution?
Well, fine arts,
civic, public institutions.
Yeah.
And in America, which is, we get a little bit into this conversation, most of our civic institutions and art institutions are funded by?
Well, sometimes publicly, but usually philanthropy.
Through philanthropy.
Yeah.
But through private means, either through private foundations or from private people, not through the government. I mean, maybe a little bit, but especially in that period of time, it was private citizens that were funding all these institutions that were serving the greater good. And the one that really sticks out to me is the idea of the public library. I mean, what a beautiful gift to a city to allow books and reading to be available to the whole public for free. I think that one always kind of hits me. It's like that was a beautiful idea. Yeah. I remember going to Dr. Roth, one of our classics teacher, and just talking to him about this word of philanthropy, and it comes from the Greek language, and this they had this idea of philanthropy in their society as well, love of brother, love of humanity, and I think that continues, but America takes that to a different level. And I think that's evidenced here in all these institutions being
Right.
created, that we are giving of this wealth. I believe, and I could be wrong here, Carnegie gave 95% of his wealth to civic institutions and organizations. Now, I know people listening to this podcast may say, well, there's some other to the story, which I understand, but I think it's just a beautiful thing that we see individuals giving.
Contributing to the public good.
Contributing to the public good.
Sure.
And maybe this was a selfish need as well that they had, but it still served a great purpose. And that's why Dvořák came, is they wanted to be coming out of the Civil War. They're saying, okay, we need to become a mature, if you will, country. We need to begin to put ourselves on the world stage with France and England. We need to develop a sense of a cultural identity, and so that's the reasons for the museums and the Metropolitan Opera, and that's the reason for this piece, is to say, hey, we are now a country on the world stage. Here's what our music sounds like. Dvořák would go later on. You can see influences, Irish influences. He studied with a student. He had a student at the National Conservatory. His name was Harry T. Burleigh, who introduced him to the spiritual tradition. And Dvořák later would say that the America's musical identity would come out of the melting pot that was becoming. That would be influenced by all of these sounds coming together to eventually create something new.
Yeah.
And I think that he was correct in that as we see our music progress into the future. And so I always start a lesson, and I don't, maybe this is not my best essential question, but we always start with a lesson that's tied to our piece. And the essential question for this piece is, can things that are borrowed be put together to create something we would consider new? Can things that are borrowed, can ideas that are borrowed, take a little here, a little here, a little here, put it together and claim that I created something new? So that's kind of where we start. What do you think about that?
Well, I think all developers, all artists, all craftsmen do that. They take raw materials of various types and maybe add value to them, reassemble them, reconstitute them for a purpose that is different and either better or higher than the base material. So, and of course, I'm thinking about this also in the context. You've already set this piece up a little bit, and we've been talking, the notion of where America was in terms of immigration at that time period and aspirations for cultural development and so forth. And indeed, we're bringing people here from all over the world. And so I suppose that is the American experiment in many respects.
Yeah.
From the many one. So I don't know if that's kind of where you're headed with it, but that's what comes to mind when you ask that.
I think and so that the question comes out of the fact that Dvořák, he does create some new music, but he definitely pulls sounds from all these different areas, and is saying that is what the Americans' identity, musical identity, will be. And so my question to the students: did he create our American identity, our musical identity?
Yeah.
But we can
contributed to it, maybe.
Contributed,
for sure.
Contributed to it.
Yeah.
But that's how we start our lesson. Then we go into the history that we kind of already went through about just getting them to understand the world. And the thing that and I don't think we'll make it that far into our recording, but the thing that I want them to try to imagine is like New York City as an immigrant coming into America with all of these institutions being built. That's not to mention housing and businesses. Also, the ability to build skyscrapers was innovated during this period of time. Like, what was New York like? Loud, chaotic, a little intense probably.
Yep.
Yeah, and so we try to get them to imagine that, because that's what Dvořák's trying to give to the world. Here is a picture of how I see America. But let's go ahead and listen. I think we're going to listen to the first 24 seconds.
Okay, Great.
And I'm going to ask you to, well, we may listen to it twice. The first time, I'm going to ask you technically what you're hearing in the music, like what instruments stick out.
All right.
What's the tempo, dynamics.
Okay.
Because that's going to fuel our imagination.
Great.
All right. Can we play that, please? And it's what happens right there at the end, for me, begins to fuel my imagination.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this is something I think that I'll kind of go back to an earlier question. You know, for me, the way that classical education is structured really lends itself to meeting the student where they are in their development process. And what I mean by that is, like, early on, you know, we want to just, you know, kids love memorizing things. You know, they thirst for just, give me some facts, right?
Yeah.
And that's, you know, that grammar stage where we're just really getting the foundations in, the knowledge into them.
And the mind is so receptive to it at that stage.
So receptive to that. And the thing that I kind of go back and forth sometimes with artists, sometimes out there artists want to start sort of with a blank slate and just create. And I push back on that because I think it's, you know, while we do have an imagination, while we do have a natural curiosity, I think what even fuels that even more is when we supply knowledge to that. And that's kind of what I am trying to get my 7th and 8th graders to do, is not just like kind of like imagine anything, but we're going to have the music inform our picture a little bit. So I know I hope you remember some of what we heard there.
Yeah.
What do we hear at 24 seconds? The last thing we hear.
The last thing we hear, to me, is reminiscent or evokes the sense of some sort of a call.
Okay.
I mean, you've got a very peaceful, flowing strings section there to open the piece.
Yep.
It's very calm and peaceful.
Great.
And I'm trying to not read in what I already know about it, but I think that is kind of what you hear.
Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of a shift. There's an introduction to, I don't know if it's the French horn precisely, but there's a
trombone right there. Yep.
There that comes in with a little bit of with an alarm. And I don't want to say an alarm, but there's a change of pace and a call to pay attention. Something is about to happen.
Yeah.
It's sort of an awakening from that peaceful moment that we had there for the first few seconds. And we're entering a transition.
Yes, yeah.
We need to keep our eyes open for what's coming next.
Right.
Kind of thing.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, but you've said a thing. I want to just flesh out the picture just a little bit. So you already noticed that we start with just the strings until we get the brass call there. What's the dynamic? We can stick with generate word, loud, soft. What would you say?
Well, it's pretty soft.
Pretty soft, right?
Yeah. Very
pretty
soft there at the beginning.
Tempo, fast, slow. Slow, right?
Yep.
And so so with our class, we would definitely go into a little bit more terminology there. We would say, you know, probably largo, just very slow moving. Then we would talk about the dynamics, probably piano, right? Not imperceptible, pianissimo, but piano. And then how are they playing? Well, they're playing, you said it, smooth, connected, legato. So those are kind of the 3 words I'm looking for. Like, we recognize it's the strings playing. We recognize it's largo. We recognize it's quiet or soft, mezzo piano or piano. And they're playing very smoothly. Mm-hmm. Now let's see if we can create a picture out of that, an image. Now, you did say that this horn sounds like some sort of warning or call. Now, what could that be? What could that be? What might, okay, let's go back to our grassroots, right? We've talked about immigration's kind of a big deal here.
Well, you said Dvořák came into New York City. So I'm definitely thinking a little bit of that approach to Ellis Island. I don't know if that's exactly where we're going, but could be that, you know, we're entering the harbor there.
Entering the harbor, sorry to be, but sometimes I have to go this on by what means?
Well, on a ship.
On a
ship. A boat.
There we go, on a boat.
Yeah.
And so maybe 24 is what? The horn is
the arrival.
The blare of the ship's horn, right? That's presumable.
Could be.
Right. This is, and Dvořák does not say that. Dvořák talks in his things. One of his favorite things to do when he was in New York was to go to the harbor and watch the big ships come in. He doesn't say that. But for me, teaching 7th, 8th graders, I need to get them to see the music.
Yeah.
That's how I get them to kind of connect. But I think it's very plausible. It seems, that 24 sounds a lot like a ship horn to me, or some sort of horn. The last thing I try to get them, we've already said it's soft, it's slow, we can see that ship drifting in. Just to give a little bit more detail to the painting, what time of day would you put it at? And I don't think there's a right or wrong. Well, there is kind of a wrong answer here, but.
Well, I think it's like morning.
Morning, or the other one that could be plausible would be.
Well, it could be evening.
Evening, right? Yeah. Probably not midday, right?
Right.
Probably not midday, just how it's soft and slowly floating into the harbor, right? So it kind of sets that up there a little bit. I'm going to throw a curveball here. I don't know if you could just let it play just a little bit more.
Right.
We're going to hear a repeat of this. So we have the strings play that. Can you?
All right, I'm at your direction whenever you tell me.
Yeah, go for it. Just go for it. And maybe turn up just a little bit. Okay, great. We could fast forward to go to 24.
We'll be right there.
There we go. So I'll talk over this a little bit. We're having a repeat, but what's changed here?
It's a little higher.
It's higher because he's added what?
Maybe some, is that a flute?
The woodwinds.
Woodwind.
Yep. Now here's what I want you to listen to. Stop it there. So that beautiful picture in an instant gets ripped away.
Yeah.
And how would you describe that music?
Oh man, it's frantic. It's
frantic.
It's bold. It's an exciting change from the peacefulness of seconds before.
Mm-hmm. And this again, I'm just Dvořák doesn't say that. I'm just trying to help the students see something here.
Yeah.
But not that's out of left field. Like you can't tell me that they took a trip to Mars here, right? It's got to make sense into our historical context. So just on your knowledge, right? Okay, let's keep going with this immigrant story coming to America. That's pretty jolting, right?
Very.
What could that be? What could that represent?
Well, this is the walking off the brow of the ship onto the land. You've been at sea for a while. You've had this peaceful morning approach to the harbor, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely bringing in my own Navy experience here a little bit.
Yeah.
But you kind of pull in, and I can imagine, especially for an immigrant who's got to go through that check-in process and the arrival, and things we've seen in other stories. Very disorienting, I would imagine.
That's a great word, disorienting.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Just because it goes from the safety and the comfort of where you've been to all of a sudden this frenetic new place that's there's probably not a lot of friendly, kind welcomes waiting for you, but more of just a whole bunch of activity and unsettling welcome.
Yeah. And some of our students have traveled to New York, but you mentioned the place earlier. I want to bring that place out. That this could very much be the immigrants coming or getting off the boat onto
maybe Ellis Island.
Ellis Island,
could be.
right?
Yeah.
Where if you visit Ellis Island, you will see like it was traumatic for a lot of, maybe very few people speak the language you're speaking. Maybe you don't know if they're going to let you in. Maybe because we see some stories about people who had contracted illness coming over and they had to be quarantined. I mean, all kinds of things. And like you said, just like thousands of people coming off this boat trying to go through all the lines and luggage and all these things that made that moment probably pretty chaotic, intense, unnerving, disorienting, all those words that you said there. You know, I think there's, I have that picture. The other, I think, plausible one that I think students can run with would be they're setting foot for the first time in New York City, Manhattan. And like we said, all the building going on, all the chaos, meeting some pretty intense moments there.
Yeah.
So that's a little example of what we do in class.
Yeah,
and,
it's beautiful.
We take our time.
It's great.
And I think that's is a beautiful thing. I think I'll probably give this answer in a minute to a question I think you're going to ask about teaching at ACA. I couldn't imagine teaching music at very many other schools because music and art are so important to our curriculum. And we demonstrate that by the time that we devote to those classes. So in 7th grade, we've organized this a little different. I will see a student every day for a whole semester. And that's what affords me the opportunity to do this.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that. And couldn't, like I said,
Kind of the equivalent of a close read in literature. You have the freedom and the flexibility and the time to really sink your teeth into a piece.
And I have and I have colleagues, you know, that in K through 5 education, they see their students one time a week, maybe sometimes once every 10 days. And, you know, they would love to. I think they're, but the time does not allow for it. And then the fact that 7th and 8th grade, you know, it's no longer like in a middle school setting. It's an elective. They're doing band or choir if they want to continue music. We offer that, but they also are required to take this music appreciation class. So I have 7th and 8th graders that are beginning to be able to have these conversations. And so that's a real treat and a real gift.
Gosh, and one they'll have for a lifetime.
Yes.
It's the foundation on which to continue the study and the enjoyment of the music for their lifetime. That's very beautiful.
I think every teacher would say there's nothing warms your heart more than when a student visits or something and they say, hey, I remember that piece, or I remember this thing that you taught us. And so I do think that they hold on to some of these things for a long time. Yeah.
Well, I do want to shift to teachers in a minute, but maybe before that, speaking of students, can you think of students that have really been impacted by your music program and for whom, you know, they've really enjoyed a positive shift in the trajectory of their academic life or their lives?
Yeah, I don't know if the one that immediately came to mind, and it's a new one for me. I don't know. He was already a positive student, so I'm not saying. But Caleb Dye just comes to mind.
Yep.
You know, he was interested in music, and we went through several different instruments for him to try, and he was very nervous about singing, but really was willing, and definitely in high school joined the choir. We have a program called the Coffee House, and that's a comfortable venue for a student to try out solo singing and allows them to sing music that they are a little bit more enjoy. He tried that, and then his senior year did one of the lead roles in our musical, and then later went on to school. And
Ivy League school, by the way.
Minored in music. I don't know if he finished that minor, but definitely kept music going on. That was a really big part of his time there at school. And now he is teaching music, or will be teaching music next year at Vertex, a school that we have a somewhat of a partnership with. And our fine arts program visited Vertex, and we had this wonderful afternoon with them. And Caleb had prepared their choir, and our choir joined together, and it was just a really cool full circle moment to see the student.
This is a school in the Bronx.
This is a school in the Bronx, and so it's really cool to see Caleb and this, like, really, like I said, full circle moment of just really going through trying to find the thing that he loved and wanted to do for him to overcome some fear and some nervousness around putting himself out there like that. And now he's a songwriter. He's written several songs that are really good. And so I'm really proud of Caleb. His buddy, I think, has a similar story. Zelig Rianto went and he sang with the Boston College University Choir, and just tremendous. I mean, your daughter, I think, has had a huge impact. She wrote our graduation song, and that's fresh in mind as we've been talking about as we're coming up on graduation. I don't think there's a school in the country that has a more meaningful graduation song than we do. It's absolutely beautiful. So it's just been great. I mean, there's maybe just more than I can even. I know I'm leaving. You know, we have Miss Spangler now back at school, and she is now leading our theater department, and she was in our first ever musical. Just so many students that I think were definitely inspired by our music program to step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful thing that art, music and art can provide, is stepping out of the comfort zone, doing something that most people would tell you maybe not to do or wasn't cool to do.
Yeah.
And learning how, like, hey, sometimes when you ignore that, sometimes when you allow yourself to step out of that, you discover something beautiful about yourself and have meaningful opportunities. And I think that's what our music program does for our students. We provide some pretty cool opportunities.
It's beautiful. I mean, honestly, I think, Bryan, that, you know, it's because of your leadership in many respects, but it's one of the most endearing elements of our school model, I think, and one that I hope every school that we're associated with will replicate, because I think you're, you know, of all the things you're doing there, I think it's encouraging participation. And, you know, it's easy to kind of think that, well, you know, sports is that place alone where we sort of build toughness and where we build resilience and where we inspire courage and those things. But no, I think you do an incredible job. I mean, to put a young man, a young lady on a stage in front of their peers and a bunch of parents and teachers and have them perform in some artistic manner, whether it's reciting a poem or playing a song that they wrote. I mean, you talk about courage that's required. It is unbelievable. And then, you know, what you know is that the kids that do that have the potential to find something about themselves that they love and then to stick with it, and it can be a positive change in their lives that ultimately rewards a lot of other people too. So I just, man, I commend you for it, and I just think it's a real strength of our program that we do, you know, invest the time and the energy in kids around the arts here. So it's incredible. All right, let's shift a little bit to teachers. I do want to ask you about that since you mentioned it a few minutes ago. And maybe stepping back a little bit, just sort of generally, we're, you know, part of our audience, we hope, are people that are considering entering the field, you know, of coming to work at one of our schools as a teacher. What do you think would be some of the best reasons to come? If you're, say, an aspiring teacher, maybe you've taught a little bit, or maybe you've taught none at all, and you're considering your next move. What would be a good reason to come and teach at one of our classical schools?
I think I said it earlier. I think if you're a person that just loves your subject, or even loves the opportunity to educate young people, the fact that we take that so serious, I think just edifies, it dignifies the craft of teaching. And I think that's unique, whether you're a kindergarten teacher at our school or a 12th grade teacher. We believe that teaching is a craft. It is something to be practiced and to continue to refine, and it's an art as well. It's an art that we are continuing to pursue being better at, because we know that when we're better at our job, then that impacts the students that are in our classroom. And so I think that if you're a teacher that believes those things and isn't looking for a place that just checks boxes, I think that's what drew me, and I think it what draws a lot of teachers, that we can be serious about our subjects, and we have the classroom environment that allows for that as well. The expectation for our students is that they are respecting their teachers, they're respecting the subject that we're teaching, and I think that's demonstrated if you come into our classrooms. I think there's a seriousness about learning at our school, and I think if you're a person that has a heart for education, as I said earlier, and for your subject, I think this is a place that really can is a great fit for those people. And I think that you mentioned to it earlier. It's like sometimes people hear this word seriousness. We have goofy teachers. And a lot of our teachers are goofy, and they do goofy things all the time. But they're able to just ebb and flow, and they know the appropriate time to be goofy, but then the time to be serious. And I think that is comes from the love of the students and the love of their subject. Yeah. And so I think that's like, for me, like a primary reason is just the seriousness at which we take educating young
It's
people.
joyful. I mean, ultimately, it's joyful.
It is joyful.
Right.
It is joyful. I mean, that's the thing, and I'll go ahead and maybe you can clip this out if you want to. I'm wrestling with this word "fun" a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not a curmudgeon. I'm not against fun. And I even recognize that there needs to be moments in our life that are fun just superficially. I understand that. But in a school setting, I think the more we should be shooting for a fun, if you will, and I like that word joy better.
Mm-hmm.
That's deeper, that's
Mm-hmm.
meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
That it comes from that aha moment that, oh, I see that, or I get that now, or that we are working together as a group of people, teachers and students in whatever grade, on something that means something. It's not frivolous.
Right.
It's not just to make you laugh or to make you and that's another thing that I love about our school is that we do have fun, but it is in the pursuit of things that are meaningful.
Yeah.
We have, and that's where I'll be heading now, we have all our 9th and 10th graders singing choir on Friday afternoon. That's crazy. I mean, no other school would do that. But the thing that and if you'll come watch it, and if you'll watch our Veterans Day performances, you'll see them. They are engaged, and they are singing wholeheartedly, and they are because they are doing something meaningful that is above them. They are honoring the veterans at that ceremony. And our 9th and 10th graders really take that on. I think they understand, like, yes, we're doing something together that is beautiful and is meaningful.
Yeah.
And so that's, I guess, another thing. It's maybe a caveat or a nuance to serious, is that we want to find joy with our students through doing meaningful things.
Yeah.
Having those meaningful discoveries.
Yeah.
And I think another reason is that you'll be supported in this act of teaching, that we desire our teachers to keep reading, to keep learning, to be curious, as we've already said, because that will just fuel that in the classroom. That students know. Students can see right through us.
Mm-hmm.
They know when we're on or when we're invested, and they know that when we're not.
Yep.
When we truly believe in what we're saying, they know. And when we don't truly believe it, they know that as well. And I think that's something you were referring to earlier.
Yeah.
It's like that enthusiasm is generated by the teacher. And it doesn't have to be like loud and gregarious. Like
It's just authentic and real.
Dr. Roth, Dr. Farmer have an authentic curiosity and an authentic knowledge. And that infuses into their students
That's right.
this enthusiasm to get to learn from someone who's so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So I hope I answered your question.
No, that's great. No, I think that's right.
Yeah.
All right. I want to talk to you about Atlanta Classical's approach to celebrating our country's 250th anniversary, the semi-quincentennial year that we're in.
Yeah.
What are the plans at Atlanta Classical to celebrate that?
Yeah, it's been a great year. A couple of years ago, and I think this is in the tradition of ACA storytelling. I think it's very classical that we pass on stories to the next generation, and that we learn about who we are and where we come from through stories. So I think that's very much in our DNA at ACA. And we wanted to continue to move that way in the fine arts. And so when you come to our try not to call them concerts anymore because they're really productions. We are telling a story through that concert where we are combining art and drama and music all together to tell this story. We did a really moving one this past December. Our concert fell on December 7th, Pearl Harbor. And so we did a remembrance of Pearl Harbor. It was really beautiful.
It really was.
And really, touching. And so in that kind of light, we're going to hopefully begin to tell the story of America. Because I think one of the things that's important is for our students to be able to articulate that, to be a part of the retelling and the telling of it. Mm-hmm. I think that helps them get ownership of it. And I try to tell people, of course, in an hour concert, we are not going to be able to tell everything or get every angle or every side. Really, this is leading us to a point of reflection and being grateful. Mm-hmm. So we're going to move through kind of chronologically, starting with our founding, and then we'll go into expansion and division with the Civil War, then hit the Gilded Age, hit the Roaring '20s and the Harlem Renaissance, and then end not with a period of time, but courage throughout our history, and just honor people who have shown courage throughout our history. And that story will be told, as I said, through wonderful script that's been written, and through music and through art that will be displayed as we move through. Really looking forward to that concert. Earlier that day, we moved our all-school art show to be on this day as well, because we're going to have an American art section done by our students. So people can come see the art show. I believe it opens at 12 o'clock, starts at 12, runs from 12 to 5. There also will be a lecture on Lafayette, which is going to be fantastic. So it's just going to be, I think, a wonderful evening. I always get a little nervous when I say that because, we are dealing with students. We're dealing with students at the end of the school year, and so I'm feeling that pressure to get the music learned and to get here. So we have.
They will rise to the occasion.
They always do.
Yeah, they always do.
But to just, it has the potential to be a really great concert.
All right, so say again when it is and where it is.
Yes, so May 17th, the lecture starts at 5 o'clock, the pre-lecture, and then 6 o'clock is the concert, and it's at Northside Drive Baptist Church, right across the neighbor for Atlanta Classical Academy.
Great.
But
do folks need to register or just show up?
They can just show up. It would be great to have an idea of the numbers. So there is an RSVP invitation that's been sent out that's available, I believe, on our website, but also through other communication avenues that we have.
And we want kids and families. We want everybody.
Yes, yeah.
Great.
I think it's just going to be a great time of celebration. We have some wonderful music picked out. We've hired a few brass players to help join in. So I think it's going to be a really wonderful evening of celebration. Yeah.
Well, I hope we get maximum participation. I hope we pack that place out.
It'll be good.
And celebrate our great country, but also celebrate your incredibly hard work and leadership and these kids, these students, young boys and girls. I know they're going to rise to the occasion. If it's anything like the musical production you guys have done over the last couple of years, I know it's going to be incredibly inspiring. So I can't wait to see it.
Great.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
All right. I want to last question here is I know you've got to get back to school to teach one more class today. I just want you to kind of, tell us how this has landed with you personally. You're in addition to being, I think, an incredible exemplar of a classical school leader and teacher. You're also a pretty awesome husband and father. So from what I observe. So how has this education benefited your family?
I think it has benefited our family because we have been open to more experiences than I think we would have had we not been at ACA. I read more than I would have had I taught at ACA, and through reading get to have those conversations with my kids, my wife, get to have deeper conversations about, well, how do you live a good life? What does that mean? And how do we make sure we're making choices that lead us there? And we definitely, I mean, by no means do I want to say it is only leads us into a conversation. We still struggle to make the right choices and to stay focused on those things. And I also and also the balancing of striving to do things well and with excellence, but where grace falls into that as well. I think those are just hard conversations, and I think it ebbs and flows. And sometimes I do it, sometimes kind of well, sometimes I really miss the mark. But I'm grateful to be at a school where that's on the top of mind. It's like, what kind of person are you?
Yeah.
I'm grateful to work at a place where I get challenged with that a lot, because instead of missing the mark and staying there for a long time, our school even encourages me to say, oh, you just missed the mark. It's time to rectify that. It's time to move back to where you should be. And so I'm really grateful for the school for that. But just even, I don't think that, thinking about going to the Symphony probably wouldn't have been as top of mind if I was in some other profession.
Yeah.
And so I think it just has added to what, like I said, the things that we try to take advantage of.
Yeah, the love of beautiful things.
Love of beautiful things has really been fostered at ACA for me personally, and I think that has carried over to our kids and to just our family. But it is. And I think that's what I am thankful for, of having students that have gone through ACA, of being able to examine, like, hey, what would I have done differently there? What would I do the same? Where would I like to grow? So it's been helpful to now be 12 years into this thing and see my own kids have gone through it. I've got one coming up behind. Like, what things would I change? How do I do it differently? What things worked? What didn't work? So as I talk, this word reflection. I think ACA calls us to reflect.
Yeah.
On who we are as humans.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
I think one of the time, some other time, or on the sheet I just saw, it's really been on my mind lately, just something that I would offer up to parents. And I think this is really something that I'm wrestling with, or I'm beginning to really believe in, is the sooner we can, what's the word? As soon as we can inspire ownership to our kids, the better off things are going to be.
Of their education?
Of their anything, right?
Yeah.
When they take ownership of something.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, the education, to be able to articulate, this is why I go to school, and this is why we do these things at school. And it's not just something they just check boxes, but they can begin to articulate, this is what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And to know that it is theirs. While they have parents guiding them and saying yes and no to things, ultimately it's in them to choose to receive it. And they're the only one that can choose that. As your parent,
You can't force it.
Convey, I can do all the trade, but ultimately at some point that you have to open up to receive it. And that, how do we as parents help lead that ownership into receiving as early as possible? Yeah. And one thing that this, as a practical thing, and I can tell your listeners, you can bring me back in, I'll tell you how it's working. But, just like on the athletic side, it just dawned on me, Emmeline,
right.
I'll call her out. She'll get
yeah.
mad at me. She's always willing to go work out with me. But I found I was the one always saying, hey, Emmeline, you want to go to the gym? Yeah, sure, let's go. And it just kind of hit me what are some things I can do to help her take ownership of different things? So I just implemented thing, and I've now done it with Boone. Like, I am happy to go with you and do anything you want to do. The only thing is you have to ask me.
Mm-hmm.
You have to come say,
Mm-hmm.
can we go to the gym today?
Mm-hmm.
And that has really shifted just even how that time at the gym is.
Yeah.
Because we both know you're the one that asked for it. And so that means also you're mentally ready to do that versus it always being me.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm curious to hopefully see how that plays out. And
Yeah.
hopefully that helps them take a little ownership over their own development.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I think you could say that in all the areas.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the core tenets of classical education's a phrase that many use is the notion of training the affections.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so that's kind of what you're getting. I mean, what we hope is that our children, our graduates, would desire the best things, that they would want the best things, that they would choose for themselves as an act of their will, maybe even in opposition to what their gut is telling them, the best things.
Yeah.
You know, we could lay on the couch and watch another episode of whatever, or we could go to the gym, you know? And I think that's what you're kind of getting to there. And isn't it true as a parent? I mean, there's nothing more heartening than when you see your child want and choose the best things.
Yes.
I mean, it just sort of just evokes this sense of victory when you see your child do that. And I do think that that's kind of what we're aspiring to do here, right?
Yeah.
We especially want them to walk across that graduation stage and enter the world and be prepared to make great choices and to have an eye and a desire for things that are good for them and good for the people around them. I mean, that's kind of what it's about.
Yeah.
So, well, it's good. Mr. Franklin, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I know you had to kind of go out of your way to get here in the midst of a school day, and I know that our audience is just going to be delighted to hear from you. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Look forward to coming back.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back. I really appreciated the lesson. Thanks for the technical team over there for getting us through that. That was very, very interesting. And man, I just wish everybody would have an opportunity to come sit in your classroom at some point. I mean, we brought friends and donors to the school on the typical tour, and we always try to include your class, and we have to kind of drag people out of there because they just don't want to leave. It's so inspiring to hear you speak and of the things they're learning. So anyway, thanks for what you've meant to my family, particularly. You've been a great influence on my 2 kids who've gotten through that program, and I know there's hundreds of others who would say the exact same thing. Mr. Franklin is a couple of years ago was our Teacher of the Year, and you know, is a front runner for that honor every year. And so just thank you for your commitment. I am so grateful that you are in this line of work and not the banking business, because I think you're having an incredible impact on kids and families. So
Thank you.
thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, folks, we're going to wrap up the show here today. Thanks for joining us for the Liberty Show. If you want to learn more about Atlanta Classical Academy, which is where Mr. Bryan Franklin serves on a daily basis, you can read more about that at atlantaclassical.org. And if you're interested in our growing network of American classical schools here in the Southeast, you can read more about that at libertyclassicalschools.org. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you at the next episode. Take care.